What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about this video that was actually recommended to me by a couple of different people, so thank you very much for that. I thought it'd be fun to take a look at this, and from what I understand, this appears to be some kind of funny parody video. It's called An Honest Government Ad, the Canada 2025 Election. So I think basically this is what it would be like if the Canadian government put out an ad that was 100% honest. So the description of this video says, the government of not America, the government of not America, aka Canada, has made an ad ahead of the coming election. And it's surprisingly honest and informative. So yeah, as an American, I don't understand everything really about Canadian politics. And this is not even strictly Canadian politics. This is like a joke about Canadian politics. So we'll see how much of this I even understand. But, I like to think I got a sense of humor. I'm kind of hip with the funny jokes, I might understand some of this. I'm cool. So let's take a look here.
Hello, I'm from the Canadian government. We know you're worried about President Trump's threat to grab Canada by the pussy and turn us into the 51st state of America. Currently,
What? What did Huh? Did anybody else hear that? Anyone else hear that? Is that just me? What did she say? What did she just say? She say what I think she said? I don't I don't want to keep putting this on replay, but what'd she just say?
hello, I'm from the Canadian government. We know you're worried about President Trump's threat to grab Canada by the pussy and turn us into the 51st state of America. Currently,
Oh my, oh my. I gotta take a sip of my Coke Zero to ponder that one. Okay, I get it. That's because that's... Okay. Calm down, everybody. Let's all just relax here for a second. That wasn't just random and weird, although it kind of was, but for a reason, because that's a reference to something Donald Trump said, that he is so famous that he could grab women, by the... what she said. That's an actual thing he said. People forget about that. Oh my God. There's so much craziness that's happened that somehow he said that. He actually said that. I'd forgotten about that. That's insane. That's actually insane that he said that and now he's just the president. Oh my God. Yeah, look that up. I'm sure most people have heard of that. That was a big thing during his first election period. The grabbing of the, yeah. Donald Trump also said he could shoot somebody in the street and still be elected. So maybe I think he was onto something there, because I guess that kind of turned out to be true. All right, let's keep going here. That threw me off, caught me off guard. But yes, Trump, 51st state nonsense. Yes, okay.
run by morons, billionaires, and fascists, or in this case, all three in one. But thankfully, we're about to have an election, and instead of our
So the first 15 seconds of this Canadian government ad is just kind of poo-pooing on the American government, which I get.
And instead of our usual election, where you get to choose which flavor of disappointment you'd like for the next 4 years, this one will determine whether or not we become Russia's bitch's bitch. So who better to vote for at a time like this than the guy who's been endorsed by the guy who says we're not a real country, unlike his real hair and Path of Exile 2 ranking, as well as by Mr. Wonderful of shit, this sad sack of meat and benzodiazepine, and by the founder of an extremist group that wants to violently impose a white ethno-state. But
Oh my god. Lot to break down here. There was something she said a little earlier before the anti-Polyev spiel began. She was talking about in Canada, you're going to vote for which brand of disappointment you want. And I don't know if that's actually how Canadians feel, but that is so incredibly relatable to Americans. Like, for a couple of elections now, it truly has felt like vote for which brand of disappointment you want. That's the perfect way of saying it. Vote for what you think is less bad. I think that's actually how a lot of Americans vote. Vote for what you think is the less worst thing, which is a horrible, horrible, mind-bogglingly bad predicament to be in. So I hope that's not how Canadians feel or the reality of your election, but I can relate to that a lot. As for this part, it's like I didn't know if this video was going to have any kind of bias or to it, so I don't know. I'm not really here to comment on like which candidates Canadians should or shouldn't vote for, but let's keep listening. Let's keep. I'm learning a lot here.
remember, he's not a MAGA guy, so it's just a coincidence that Pierre hired a literal MAGA hat-wearing Loblaw Shill as chief advisor, double president's choice, and that 1 in 5 of his voters support annexation, Canada 51st, and that his policies are designed to turn Canada into America Light, like destroying the CBC, repealing environmental protection, and delivering for his private healthcare donors. So you...
Is that true? Destroying the CBC? Aren't they kind of important? And yeah, I mean, what this is really telling me is I really don't have a good grasp on Canadian politics and what each of the candidates really, what their policy decisions are or what they stand for. But I have heard, on a simple sort of basic level that I think based on recent polls, Poilievre is going down in polls, and Mark Carney has gone up in the polls, and it's been a real drastic sort of change recently, a real flipping around, because I think Poilievre was leading up until, I don't know, a month ago? I'm not exactly sure. But certainly if there's some kind of tactic going on here with relating Poilievre to Donald Trump, I would imagine that would work. Whether that's true or not, I'm not going to get into that. But I imagine if Pierre Poilievre is being compared and related to, voting for him is like voting for Canada's Donald Trump, I would imagine that could be an effective strategy. So I don't know if that's got anything to do with the polls recently, but that's kind of what they're talking about here.
You can pay for your own chemo and collect PC Optimum points. So if you don't want to become the 50...
There's a couple references here, like President's Choice or something. PC Optimum points? I'm not sure what these things mean. I think there's going to be a lot of Canadian little references that I don't get.
First state of America, vote for us. Sure, in a way, we've already let the U.S. invade Canada. Like that time we let this former U.S. Army general and head of the CIA literally invade indigenous lands to build pipelines owned by Wall Street firms who'll be the ones profiting from your higher energy bills.
I never heard about that. I'm an American and I never heard about that.
But other than that, we're not like the conservatives at all. Where Pierre promised to axe the carbon tax and give the rich a risty by killing the capital gains hike, our guy went and did it on day one. What's that? You're thinking of voting for these guys? Nah, we both know.
Is that it? That was it. They didn't they didn't roast the liberal party nearly as much as they roasted the conservative one there. And then there's the NDP. I did a video a while ago learning about the Canadian political parties. I was trying to be somewhat educated on that. So it's kind of a big difference that Canada has more than two political parties. I really love that about the Canadian sort of politics and government. Because in America, there's really only two choices. In Canada, from what I can tell, effectively, there's only two choices, like the liberal or conservative parties, because I don't think these other real small parties have much of a chance. But it's nice that they exist.
No, you'll succumb to Canada's proudest tradition, strategic voting. Unless, of course, you realize that you can avoid being forced to vote for shit or shit light every election by replacing our shitty voting system with proportional representation. Hang on, didn't this guy promise electoral reform? Sure, but he only had 10 years to do it, and it's not like his slogan was, real change now.
10 years. That's also so, like, to me, I can't imagine. There's no term limit for prime ministers, is that right? That, in a way, that can be a good thing. Because if you really, really like your prime minister, you can keep them forever. Can it really be forever? Is there no limit? 10 years, because, of course, in the United States, our presidents can only serve 8 years maximum, and then it's like, love them or hate them, they are gone. And most Americans seem to like that. There is a firm limit. Did Canadians really want election reform? I'm learning a lot about, this video is mostly satire, parody, jokes, with a lot of actual real criticisms I think they're trying to make. So I'm actually learning quite a bit about the Canadian government, even though this is supposed to be funny. For me, a lot of this stuff is like just new, so I can't sit back and just be like, ha ha, yeah, they messed up the election reform. Oh, those idiots. It's like, really? I'm just sitting here like, they did? Oh my God. What did they want to reform about the Canadian election system? I learned about how Canadian elections work very recently. I didn't know anybody wanted reform, like proportional representation. There's not proportional representation. Because I thought like all the hundreds of different areas in Canada voted for MPs, and is that not, do people not feel that that's representative enough?
Something 2/3 of Canadians want. Proportional representation lets you tell both major parties to fuck off by letting you vote for the candidates you like most instead of the one you hate least. You know, ones who stand for the things you want, besides not becoming North Dakota. Like affordable housing, ending price gouging monopolies, improving healthcare, transit, and education, climate policies that aren't total bullshit, and most importantly, revoking Elon's Canadian citizenship, because fuck that guy. So if you want choices that go beyond U.S. vassal state bro or banker daddy status quo, head to fairvote.ca and join the fight to demand that all parties commit to real electoral reform. But first, let's make sure we tell Trump and Elmo to fuck off this election.
I should have known by the title. It says honest government ad. So yeah, they're being extremely blunt.
Might even teach our friends in America how you cross-check MAGA shitlords into the boards. Elbows up. This has been a message from the government of not America. They got a picture of the White House being burned down. Because didn't
Canada like burned down the White House like hundreds of years ago. They got a picture of that too. I didn't know this whole honest government video was gonna be so like anti-America as well, but it makes a lot of sense, in hindsight, given what the American government is doing to Canada. So I actually think the American jokes here, like I understand all that stuff. So that's like that I can actually laugh at that. Checking us into a hockey rink boards. Okay.
burning down the White House when threatened since 1812. Authorized by the Department for a Definitely Real Country, unless you ask First Nation peoples, in which case maybe not.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Jeez. Honest indeed. Wow. This is a little like I didn't really know what to expect out of this. It was very, very political. And I like to learn about politics, but I don't like to give my opinion unless I feel like I really, really, really deeply understand like what's going on. Well, I'll give my opinion on stuff that like doesn't really matter, like even if I don't know about that. But I think this Canadian election coming up, like that's very, very important to like Canada's future, right? So I'm not gonna comment too much on how they roasted like all of the different Canadian political parties by the sound of it, but it really sounded like in this video they were vehemently against the Conservative Party. They spent like the whole beginning really roasting them. There was a short bit about the Liberals being kind of like the semi-bad party, like having empty promises of their own, and Trudeau having 10 years to do all these different things but not really accomplishing them, and then just a whole bunch about how the American government sucks, which I thought was funny. So there you have it. That was a trip. I don't know. This got me thinking more about like the United States, frankly. And, like kind of questioning everything that's going on here. Because after a while, when you live in the United States, it's so incredibly insane, like the stuff that happens here and some of the policy decisions and our elections, that I feel like there's fatigue that happens. If you're an American, there's like, you get fatigued from like the constant madness. So you stop like thinking about it to maintain your sanity a little bit. And so this got me. It was fun to hear like the Canadian honest thoughts on American government and what seemed to be honest, really, really honest thoughts about Canada's government. Although, I guess depending on your personal opinions, like you'd agree or disagree with some of the stuff in this. But that's neither here nor there. For what this was, I thought this was very entertaining, informative, pretty cool. So anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of the stuff in this honest Canada government ad. That'd be fun to hear about from Canadians out there. Maybe you can explain any of the references I didn't understand. That'd be great. Thank you. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and learning about Canadian culture and seeing Canadian things I've never seen, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.